Hello there, and welcome back to the Spontaneous Brilliance podcast. I thought today I would maybe kind of go back a little bit to the beginning because I say that spontaneous brilliance and the concepts therein, that they are my metaphorical metaphysical guide to life. And they're based on my two favorite metaphors. And my second favorite metaphor is the one I want to talk about today. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. But where I got attached to this metaphor is in my deep belief that I developed over years of working with a really diverse collection of people, teaching everybody from preschoolers to PhDs and kids with special needs and graduate students and parents and teaching teachers to teach and working with actors and all these different groups of human beings that were all remarkably brilliant. And I really do believe, I'm not kidding, and this is not hyperbole. Everyone is brilliant. Everyone. That means you. It's not that some people are brilliant and some people are not. It's that some people accept and shine that brilliance and some people don't. Most of us spend our lives and we are hiding in plain sight. We keep our ideas and our stories and our crazy perspectives and our wisdom and our insights and our, I'll say it again, unique creative genius locked inside us. It's gathering dust on a shelf somewhere while the world becomes a more contentious, competitive, and confusing place. And we need to experience the unique creative genius that every human being is born with. We need to create a world that is collaborative, that is creative, that is cooperative. One where every single person can live as a conscious creator. That's what it's about. That's what spontaneous brilliance is about. I'm going to tell you the mission of spontaneous brilliance and me, okay? It is to create a world of loving, conscious creators where everyone's unique creative genius is recognized, acknowledged, shared, and respected in our hearts, homes, classrooms, companies, and communities, regardless of our age, education, or perceived abilities. And it's that perceived abilities part that probably I'm going to talk about, at least metaphorically, most today. Okay, so here is my second favorite metaphor. It's a quote attributed to Einstein. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Albert Einstein is probably the most universally accepted representative of a genius, right? We use his name literally to call somebody a genius. But Albert Einstein was misunderstood as a child. He didn't talk. He had a rebellious nature in school. He really had late development in speaking. And he had teachers and headmasters say he'd never make it, right? He couldn't survive school, so they expelled him, or they would sort of send home the reports of him never going to amount to anything. And that's funny to us now. But I guarantee you there are a bunch of kids out there in whatever community you're in right now, maybe even you, that is happening to. That because you are not developing or expressing or thinking or sharing in the same way that everybody else does, you're thought of as not functioning correctly, right, as well as you should be or might be by somebody's standards. There was nothing wrong with little Albert. Little Mr. Einstein was perfectly fine. And if you think about it, our world would be so different and not for the better, I would think, without the contributions of little Albert, right? If he had not offered his ideas to the world, if he had just kept them locked inside and let them ruminate in his head, and he had continued to think without talking rather than to offer his thoughts, and if he'd accepted the labels, if he'd accepted the judgments, if he'd accepted as truth what those people offered, right? We're always about the offering, accepting, and not blocking. If he had accepted those blocks to his life as truth, then we would be in a completely different world. Fortunately for us, despite that early feedback, right, that he received, he was still able to notice his own brilliant creative genius. He noticed his thoughts. And then he nurtured them and he explored them and he played with them and he worked with them and he developed them and then he persisted and then he offered those ideas to the world and we accepted them. And so here's what we need to understand. Einstein was not a singular or special case because he was a genius. I'm going to say that again. Einstein was not a singular or special case because he was a genius. He was singular and special because he was able to share his unique creative genius. Everyone is brilliant at something, at their thing. Everyone. The reason that we have trouble accepting that as a fact is because we are so used to our brilliance, our genius, and we confuse that with intelligence, right, of a certain kind. We're so used to it being assessed incorrectly or going unrecognized or, worse yet, being shut down by those people that say, we'll never amount to anything by their standards. We don't know how to recognize and explore and nurture and share our genius as Einstein did, right? Because we're trying to please all the people around us. Regardless of whether it is hidden or expressed, the fact remains that every single one of us, I'm talking to you are a unique creative genius. Remember Einstein's metaphor. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And that's why most of us don't believe that we or the people around us are geniuses. We're living in a world where the only accepted demonstration of genius is to climb the tree, metaphorically speaking. But what if we were not born to climb trees? What if we were born, as most of us are, for something else? I love metaphors. I love the fish metaphor. I love it, love it, love it. And I would love to just share with you my extension of the metaphor. If you've read Spontaneous Brilliance, then you've heard this before. But it never gets old for me, so hopefully it never gets old for you, okay? So let's extend that little metaphor a little bit and play with this story. Let's suppose for a moment that once upon a time, some super well-meaning monkeys who were super great at climbing trees, they maybe got it through their heads or they noticed that some of the monkeys were not good at climbing trees or not as good as them. And so they're nice people. They're nice monkeys. They're well-meaning monkeys, right? Those of you that have heard me speak, you know that it's a common phrase for me to use the term well-meaning monkeys, which is part of the reason why I want to do this particular podcast, is because I want to get that out there in the vocabulary, because I notice myself wanting to refer to people as well-meaning monkeys all the time. So now I'm making sure that there's a podcast episode you can go to figure out what I mean by well-meaning monkeys. This is it. This is where we are. Okay. So these monkeys, right? They want their friends to have their same success. They want the other monkeys, even monkeys they don't even know. They want to give them a system for climbing the tree in the way that they consider to be their best way, because their intention is to help themselves and all monkeys to get better and better at climbing. And when they do that, then they become better and better at their overall monkeyness. They're not just better at climbing trees, but they're better monkeys because they climb trees better, right? So the well-meaning monkeys who create that system, they acquire a lot of data to support their system. And of course, now that data does not assess the relative happiness of the monkeys or whether or not all monkeys are even interested in climbing trees or getting better and faster at climbing trees, right? The data measures the success within the system, and the data clearly shows that a majority of monkeys improve when they use this system to climb the tree. The system gets accepted. The system gets more practiced. The system gets more valued until it is eventually responsible for every tree climbing success. The system becomes the point. And success gets graded and recorded, and competition is encouraged, and monkeys are judged against each other based on how well they do in the system, and they're rewarded. And as better, faster climbing becomes synonymous with better monkeyness, then that system starts to become sacred. And of course, right? The monkeys are well-meaning, compassionate beings. And so they want everybody to be successful. They want everybody to do well in the system. And so they now start looking around not only at other monkeys, but also at that proverbial fish and lions and sharks and whales and giraffes and pangolins and aardvarks and whatever. You get my point. And their ability to climb a tree. Okay? It never occurred to the well-meaning monkeys that the system is not based on the goals or the strengths or the aptitude or the desires of the other creatures. They never consider that the system might be flawed. They only pity the creatures who are too flawed to benefit from the system. Sound like anything we might be participating in on a regular basis? Maybe. As the well-meaning monkeys see the other creatures in this metaphor, right, in our metaphorical story here, as the monkeys see the other creatures struggle, they don't give up on their fellow beings' ability to be more like them. Oh, yeah, no. They develop supports and accommodations to compensate for the poor, unfortunate creature's lack of monkeyness. And it still never occurs to any one of them that their precious system may actually be harming the very creatures they're trying so hard to save or to better. But if, as Einstein imagined, you happen to have been born a fish, then not only are you not going to be able to climb that freaking tree, but every moment you spend in that monkey-friendly environment without water is literally killing you. And the tragic misconception that most well-meaning monkeys would come to is that if you die in the system didn't fail you. You failed the system because you didn't climb the tree, which is somehow the point. Now, what if we flipped that metaphor, okay? What if we went from a system based on competition to one based on cooperation and collaboration? What if we looked around and we valued each creature for the special, unique attributes they were born with? What if, let's say, we let the giraffes or the birds show the monkeys how fast they can access the top of the tree? They can do it faster, right? A bird doesn't even have to touch the tree to get to the top of the tree, let alone climb, But that would blow these well-meaning monkeys' circuits because climbing has already become the point. It doesn't really count if they can jump to the top of the tree, right? The system wouldn't even recognize that as a solution. And if we flip the situation completely, what if we insisted that the well-meaning monkeys experience being part of the non-monkey system? What if the fish set up the system? What if we ask a monkey to reach the top of the tree without using its hands or its feet? It couldn't, but the bird can. And what if we took the monkey out of the tree situation completely and asked it to survive underwater like the fish? That would probably not work, right? And the point is ultimately that there is nothing wrong with the fish for not being able to climb the tree any more than there is something wrong with the monkey for not being able to breathe underwater. It's just that the monkey system got there first, right? The monkey system was valuable first somehow, or seen as valuable first. The problem is the expectations that we have in the system. There are so many educational scholars and developmental specialists and creativity gurus out there that are talking about the failings in our educational system. I mean, we're talking about it all the time in virtually every country in the world. Something has to change, obviously. But just because the system is broken, it doesn't mean that we can just push at the system and make more tests and more competition and more ways of deciding whether or not somebody hits the finish line or climbs the tree in the right way. Our thinking about thinking, our thinking about creativity, about talent, about genius, about imagination, about everything is so broken that we can't change the system for the better until we change our thinking. I often refer to another Einstein quote: "A serious problem cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that created it." The issue isn't that the system is broken. The issue is that we won't think outside of the box that we've created. And nobody really, really, really thinks that this metaphorical situation where every creature in nature is judged on their monkeyness would really happen. We know that creatures on Earth simply do what they're born to do. The fish don't judge themselves or the monkeys by their ability to keep up with a different kind of fish or a shark or a giraffe. Even when people go into the wild and they, let's say scientists find a new species, they don't immediately start judging the species on whether it acts like another species. They explore and find out and get curious about what that species does. What is its natural state? That's the way we explore every other living creature in the world. Literally. But except for human beings. Except for human beings. We don't go out into the wild, into the forests, into the jungles and discover a new kind of animal and then think, oh, well, the creator really blew it on that one. We don't. We get curious about what it is. We find out all the things about it. And then we set about reveling in what it naturally does, what comes naturally, what is its special, unique genius. But we look at other human beings and we immediately think that the creator blew it with some of them. We think that there are talented people and not talented people, geniuses and not geniuses, people without the necessary abilities to be a genius. We pick the ones that we think the creator did a good job on. Only humans think they are smarter than the universe, smarter than creation. Only humans believe that the cosmic lottery favors some of us and that there's something random or even not so random that we can win or lose about what we were born with. But every one of us is born playing the role. There, I'm tapping into that other metaphor, my first favorite metaphor, but you guys know that by now. Okay. We were born to play the role. We are perfectly cast. We are perfectly cast in the role we are playing. We were born to play this. We have all the right stuff for whoever we are. An aardvark cannot do what a monkey can do or what a fish can do. But an aardvark is a perfect aardvark. And just as the monkey might not see the value in swimming like a fish until maybe the moment that it's underwater, we might not understand or value the inherent brilliance in each other. But if we can teach ourselves to behave as if we believe it's there, then the world will completely change for us with just a few simple shifts in our understanding. Can step into a world of unlimited possibilities. Let me say that a little bit differently. It's not that we're going to step into a world of unlimited possibilities. It's that we're going to notice that we're in a world of unlimited possibilities. When we learn to expect and respect the inherent brilliance in ourselves and in each other, that's when we're going to see it. I have made literally a career and a life out of expecting brilliance from everyone. And given the opportunity, 10 out of 10 times I find it. I already said at the beginning of this podcast that I've been teaching people of all ages and abilities for decades. And I've said many times, and I know you've heard me say it, I have never walked into a room on this planet that was not full of unique creative geniuses. I have never met a person I couldn't get to express their brilliance in some previously unimagined way. I've told this before. The brilliant special ed teacher who said to a room full of kids that were highly engaged in stuff she hadn't believed a couple of months before they would even try to do, let alone have wild success at. And she was looking at her classroom full of these students with cognitive and behavioral disabilities. And she all of a sudden shouted, "You know what I love about Miss Kavanaugh? She teaches like she doesn't know there's anything you can't do. And so there isn't." That's all. That's the secret. That is the secret right there to spontaneous brilliance. You've got to behave as though you don't know there's anything you can't do. And there won't be. And I and you and everyone on the planet needs to start behaving as though there is nothing that anyone can't do if it's theirs to do. If they desire it, that's theirs to do. Desire is that little divine spark of inspiration saying, go for it. And most of us don't, because we judge ourselves next to the well-meaning monkeys. And we fish and pangolins and giraffes and aardvarks, we don't even try. But we weren't born to climb the tree. We were born to succeed at the beautiful, wonderful, creative gifts we came here to be, do, and share. So I'm going to ask you to check your world for your well-meaning monkeys. And it's important to recognize they're well-meaning monkeys. They don't mean to be stifling you. They don't mean to be stifling themselves. They don't mean to be stressing everybody out. I believe most of them are really well-meaning monkeys. There might be some mildly anxiety-ridden hostile monkeys out there, but most of them are super well-meaning monkeys. Super well-meaning monkeys. and check yourself, check your world for where the well-meaning monkeys are and where you're letting them stifle your creative genius, where you're letting them tell you that breathing underwater isn't that great because it won't get you to the top of the tree, okay? And notice where you're being maybe a well-meaning monkey in somebody else's world. And stop it, okay? Just start remembering that the key is, when in doubt, offer your unique creative genius, your beautiful ideas, your brilliance, your wonderfulness. Offer it. When in doubt, offer. If in doubt, you're probably blocking. If you can accept everything as an offer, and that means everything coming from inside you too, everything you are, everything you think, everything you feel is an offer. The choice is up to you what you do with it. If you want to climb a tree, go ahead. Just don't judge anybody else or yourself. All right. I will see you again soon. The Spontaneous Brilliance podcast is brought to you by Miracle Communications Group. Our producer is Michelle Oneida. Sound engineer is Corey Michaels at Corey Michaels Productions. Music is composed by Rex Miller. And I'm your host, Sandra Kavanaugh. You can learn more about me and all things Spontaneous Brilliance at sandrakavanaugh.com or spontaneousbrilliance.com. And please join the conversation here at the Spontaneous Brilliance podcast by emailing us at podcast@spontaneousbrilliance.com. And have a beautiful, glorious, blessing-filled day.